I'd like to today is, first of all, go over again quickly what is a chatzitza and what's not a chatzitza, and then we'll go into the time when we're supposed to do cleaning for chatzitzos. Okay? So, we know that things that are on the body that a woman would take off, even if she wouldn't take them off this second, but she'd rather take them off, not have them on her body permanently, that's called a chatzitza. Okay, however, there's different parts of the body. There's parts of the body that are hidden, right? When you go in crevices that are deep, that are never seen, that's not a place where you ever have to check for chatzitza. So, for example, in the nose and the ears, there's a certain point we have to check, and at a certain point you don't have to check. When do we say that the place that you can see with your eyes, that's a place where it's called external, and therefore, even if it's not necessarily something which is always revealed, but since it could be revealed, we need to make sure it doesn't have any chatzitzas on it. Okay? That doesn't necessarily mean that the water has to go into these places. You don't have to suck up the water up into your nose, right? But it has to be able that the water could go in there if it needs to go in there. Okay? So that's an important thing to check. Ears and nose. In Oto Makom has to be checked. Okay. Also, eyes have to make sure that there's no schmutz on the eyes, belly button. So those are places that are like inside, so we know we have to check. We spoke about makeup, that makeup shouldn't be on a woman by tzvila. And this poses an interesting technical problem that people always discuss, is that what happens when a woman doesn't wear makeup and she has guests or she's around family and she's usually wearing makeup, and now everybody knows that she went to the mikvah. What should be done in that situation? It's only a question of tzniut, and there's different approaches to this problem. Some feel that it's not a lack of tzniut for your parents to know, and some feel it's a lack of tzniut for your parents to know. I definitely feel like it's not a lack of tzniut for the parents to know, because for them they look at it totally differently. Their head is not in the place at all of when you see a romantic relationship between a husband and a wife. So you think about your own intimacy, and that's not tzanua. But parents, the relationship to their children is one of they raised this child from the beginning when they were a baby. So I don't think it has any context of that, and therefore it shouldn't be an issue.
Why can't you just put makeup afterwards after mikvah?
Because you can't put on makeup on Shabbos.
Okay.
Right? So this is a common issue. I definitely...
I just want to put it out there that from what I understand from halacha, you can put on like loose powder makeup on Shabbos, and for women who are seriously into makeup, it may be a middle ground solution.
Okay. I mean, it was a discuss about that. It's hard to understand what that means exactly in terms of Hilchos Shabbos. So let's assume right now that it will be an issue putting on makeup. And what do we do in the situation where a woman will go to her table and have a bunch of guests, and every woman in the room will say, you went to the mikvah? That's the question. Okay? So for sure, if you're going to go to the mikvah Leil Shabbos on Friday night, you should definitely avoid anyway, it's kind of a weird thing to have guests to Leil Mikvah, but even if you do have guests and there's an issue of mikvah, it's something to avoid, that you don't want to show everybody off what's going on. But I think with parents, I don't think it's a big deal. Okay? So definitely we want to take the mikvah off before the mikvah. In case the makeup was on and she went to the mikvah and it looks good, that's a serious question. And in a situation, it would come to me, I would say if it looks good and she's happy with it, she doesn't have to feel like she should redo it, then it's b'diavad okay. The reason why this is a question is because, first of all, it's only there for a short amount of time, right? And secondly, because it's still a chatzitza, even though it's there for beauty, there are those that hold that the only time we don't care about things that are there for beauty when they have no essence, no mamashos. Like if you have a marker on your body, right? Or hair dye. Hair dye is the best example. Hair dye is totally fine. If a woman wants to cover her hair, change her hair color, it doesn't necessarily mean there's a chatzitza. Why? Because the hair dye has no mamashos and it's there for beauty. So when those two things are together, we know there's no chatzitza. But if you have a situation where we have makeup, which is thick, it goes on top of the skin, and it's there for beauty, and it's there for a short time, that's already it's a big chiddush to say that it's not chotzitz, and I definitely would avoid doing that l'chatchila. Like I said, if a woman came to me afterwards and she says her makeup is perfect, and can I continue on, or I have to push off my Yom HaTzvila, then I would be makel. But it's definitely something we want to avoid. Okay?
When you say that it doesn't have mashpia, what does have mashpia in an example? Like hair dye is something that doesn't, what's something that does?
Well, think if you rub your finger on top of, let's say, a marker you put on your skin, right? So you can't tell if there's anything there. You can look and you see the color changed. But if you take, let's say, makeup, the whole idea of makeup is a powder, right? So you could feel the difference between a face with makeup, face without makeup, I'm assuming, correct? Am I right? Okay, so that means there's something there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the same thing would be true also for nail polish, right? Nail polish is a thing that women are very into nowadays. Definitely something to be avoided, but do before the mikvah. And if a woman is not saying I'm not willing to do that, then like I said, there's makom to be makel, because when she finishes doing the tzvila, it's still in the same situation and she still wants it there. So even though it's for a short amount of time, since it's for beauty and it's in order for it to get taken off, it has to change, so it becomes a different thing. So there's a very strong reason to say it's not a chatzitza, and therefore I would be makel if I had to. Okay.
Can you review again what the mashma is and the object having the capacity to change?
Yes. Okay.
Does
So
that mean that it's like temporary?
okay. So if we think about a ring, right? That a ring that sometimes comes off when things get dirty, right? When she makes kalah or she does things that are dirty, she doesn't want the ring on to get the ring dirty, she takes it off. So what does that mean? That means that this ring is not really a part of her. She doesn't define it as part of her body. It depends on the situation. And therefore we'd say that a ring is an external thing that she has on it for beauty, but it's external to her body. Okay? However, there are certain things, for example, that are never taken off. So let's say, for example, a nose ring. So then instead of it being an external thing she puts on her body, now her body is defined as this is the shape of her body. She has a face with a nose ring coming out of her face. Okay? Those are the two clear examples that are extremes. Let's say we have something, for example, a woman is a painter. Okay? And every single day she works with paint on her hands. That's just the way she is. And when she goes to sleep at night, she doesn't take it off. Right? Maybe Shabbos she takes it off. But the rest of the week she's totally fine with it. Okay? So now, is that a chatzitza? No, because she doesn't care about it being on her hand. She does care about it when it comes Shabbos. So is that called a chatzitza because in the end of the week she takes it off? So the idea is no, because when it's during the week, it belongs on her hand. When it's on Shabbos, it's a different situation. So during the week, it's not something that she cares about it. On Shabbos, because she's in a different situation, because she has to look differently, then it's suddenly a chatzitza. Similarly, let's say we take something which is like the thing we spoke about before, like nail polish. So nail polish, when it's on her hand today, okay, it's beautiful, perfect, she wants it, she loves it. So then she said, this is a beautiful adornment, and if it would stay like this forever, I'd be the happiest woman in the whole world, right? What happens? Life isn't like that. Things fall apart. And suddenly, hey, it's a different thing now. Oh, that thing I don't want on my hand. The thing I wanted before, that I want on my hand forever. This thing is a messed up thing. Okay, take it off, right? So if she's doing the mikvah on the day where it's perfection, she's like, hey, hallelujah, this is on my hand. I want it to be this way forever. That's not a chatzitza. When it changes, it's something else. And that's thing is a chatzitza. That's the idea that we can have things that be on a body, practically they're temporary, but conceptually they're permanent. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Is that clear, Delora?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like I said before, all of these are things that are, ideas, not so clear, hard for people to keep understanding in their heads, and always decisions Rabbanim made based on the sugyas. The best thing in the world, obviously, is to not go into all these things. You're just making life complicated, right? Unless you're stuck in a certain situation, we try not to take responsibility for strange things. So always the best thing to do is, a woman wants to have beautiful nails, and she should organize it at the time that she's going to switch it is before the mikvah, take it off, and after the mikvah, go and get it done beautifully. That's the best way to live, to do life. Okay. When we're cleaning, so one of the things that happens is boo-boos, right? We have psaim. So you have to know that dried blood is a chatzitza, and therefore a person should wash it off. What it also is a scab. Now, the main place that a scab is a problem is the ones that she would take off because it doesn't hurt anymore. So what halacha is, instead of what the minig was, that women spend a lot of time in the water until it becomes very, very soft. And usually what comes out is already just falls out on its own. And the thing that didn't fall out is very, very soft. The issue becomes if she goes to the mikvah, or she does her preparations hours before she goes to the mikvah. By that time, the scab is very hard again. So it's important to make it soft before she goes to the mikvah. And others just took it off, even though it was painful. So if you don't want to do that, then the best thing is to cover it with a shmata, which is warm water, and let it soak up all the water, and then the water goes through it, and it's not an issue. Was that clear? Was that clear? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Not so common, but if you have a coats, what do you call it? If you have what's it called, the coats in English?
Like a splinter?
A splinter, yeah. If you have a splinter in your hand, so if it's completely underneath the skin, right, then it's not a chatzitza b'chlal. Okay. If it isn't completely underneath your skin, and you should try to take it out, even if it comes on Shabbos and you didn't take it out, then she can try to take it out with a pin, as long as she doesn't have kavanah to take out dam. Okay. Like we spoke about last week, there's a big discussion about band-aid, bandages, or things that hold broken bones and things like that. So the basic assumption is that all of those things are yes a chatzitza, and there are even cases where women have to take off the geves, and then go to the mikvah and then put it back on afterwards, because it's something that Owen does not want to be there permanently. She's stuck in that situation. She has no choice, and therefore she takes it off because she only puts it on there because she has no choice, but really doesn't want it on there. So therefore, it's really a thing which is a chatzitza. Okay. If you wear a cast, right, or other type of bandages, so it depends. If a woman gets stitches, and the stitches are there, right? So those stitches have to be there. She has no choice. If the stitches are not there, she's in life-threatening danger, and therefore, in that situation, those stitches are not an issue, and they only get taken out when the woman is healthy, which is a different situation. So therefore, those stitches are totally fine, especially the stitches that are inside after birth, because they're totally hidden inside. 1 second. Okay, so if the tzarim are going to be taken out by themselves, then that's a much better kula, because what happens is they evaporate by themselves, and which is a very good kula. If they're not, and there's a situation of sakana mamish, so you could be mako, and obviously if they're inside the body, that's totally fine. Okay, but in the end of the day, again, all of these things are issues because the woman does not want it on her body, and if she would have a choice, she'd have it not there whatsoever. Okay, taking off nails. So the halacha is that the dirt underneath the nails is a chatzitza, and therefore in Ashkenaz they made a minhag to take very seriously cutting the nails until it's equal to the flesh, and they're very serious about this minhag. They said if a woman goes to the mikvah and doesn't do it, she should go back, and that's Ashkenazi minhag. But if chas v'shalom a person doesn't do that, then b'diavad, when they went home already, we don't make them go back. And the reason for this is because really the nails themselves are not a chatzitza, and she checked, she cleaned, so obviously it's not there. We try not to be samach on checking as much as possible. So we made a takana that says that a woman should cut her nails instead of checking. But if she did check and didn't cut the nails, so l'chatchila we tell her to go back to the mikvah. But b'diavad, if she went already and she went home, we don't send her back. Okay. What happened to me?
Ask something?
Sure.
In cases that you do have to send the woman back even after she was with her husband, you said that there are a few things like khatifa, for example, right? What happens? Well, let's say she got pregnant, and let's say a child will be born anyways. What happens?
That child will have a tikkun of they have to do in their life. It has to do with nida.
Okay.
It's like anything we do things in life. There's always ramifications.
Can you review the times when a woman would have to go back? Chafifa. And here Ashkenazim with cutting nails.
Okay, so there's different cases where.
Are there others?
Yeah, well, let's say if a woman comes back home and she finds a chatzitza on her body, and that could be a very serious situation. So that's always
Serious. I mean, obviously an obvious chatzitza.
Right. Let's say she goes to the mikvah and she finds out later that she has a toe ring on her finger that she takes off every day. She's going to have to go to the mikvah. There's no choice, right? No matter if she's 5 days later, she's going to have to go to the mikvah because it didn't happen. But the cases where it wouldn't be intuitive, right? For example, let's say she didn't comb her hair. She checked her hair but didn't comb her hair. Okay? Or she went home and she found something that on her body that could have been there before she went to the mikvah, and it was reasonably be after the mikvah. That's a shaila that I don't want to discuss right now, but it's a shailas chacham. If you find something after the mikvah, it's an issue, because right now we see on her body a chatzitza, and we don't know when it was there, and since we see it on her body now, what do we have right to assume wasn't there during the mikvah? What else will we send a woman back for? Like we said, cutting the nails. It's all places where we have an assumption of chatzitza that we don't know that it didn't happen. Contacts are chotzets, totally. You take them out of your eyes, and you don't want them there forever. Why shouldn't they be chotzets? Right, so that's a situation where women do go to the mikvah and they come back, and it's an issue. What else? Right off the top of my head, I think those are the obvious cases. But if we run into some more, I'll tell you. Okay. Now let's go nails and skin on the side of the nails. Right. So nails can have pieces broken off. Skin can have pieces broken off. So lechatchila, we take off all of those things. And the situations where she didn't, it's what's discussed. There's Sfardim, Ashkenazim. I don't want to go into all the details, but lechatchila, take off. There shouldn't be stuff hanging off the body. Okay. And we we spoke about kinim, that dead kinim are chotzeitz, live kinim are not chotzeitz, but their eggs are yes chotzeitz. So basically, practically speaking, a woman who has kinim has to do serious work before she goes to the mikvah. Cleaning out your teeth obviously is a necessary thing, and that's why the minhag is not to eat meat the day of the tefillah, because we don't want to make things more complicated. Similar minhag is not to do, like pottery and things like that the day before the day of the mikvah. However, obviously, if you need to, like for example Shabbos or Yom Tov, or a woman works in these things, then that you can. It's only a minhag to be more careful, but it's not like a halacha. Okay. We spoke about teeth. So everything you put in your teeth could be a chatzitza. You have to think about that, right? So we know that a stima, a person who puts in a filling in their teeth, that's just a replacement of the body, how the body naturally was. So that's obviously not a chatzitza, right? And therefore, let's say you have a keter, which is now where you have something on your tooth, and the doctor said we got to take it out because there's an infection underneath it, and it can't be there anymore. Right, so it's something that now she has decided that she doesn't want this external thing in her body, and it's not her body. It's not like where there is something inside of her body that they have to cut off. Let's say they have to cut off a wart or cut off or some kind of growth, right? So that right now is part of her body. They plan to cut it off, but this thing is an external thing, and the only reason we actually make it part of the body is because she decided. The second she decided, now this must come off my body, so that's an issue of chatzitza, right? Now, when you have a filling which is not permanent, and they're planning to reopen it, and they need it to be reopenable, so there's a very big question about that. I would definitely say avoid doing that before you go to the mikvah. And if there's no way to avoid it, then it really depends a little bit on the mitzias, and you definitely should ask a person who knows chatzitza very, very well before you do that. Okay? Oh, and to make a distinction, I think that's a great distinction. A tooth that's about to fall out is not a chatzitza. Right? It's not different. It's the difference between a keter and a tooth going to fall out. A tooth is going to fall out means your body, and it's just going to fall out, so it's going to fall out in the future. But if you have like a filling which is going to fall out because you're going to take it out, so that's an external thing, and therefore that is chatzitza. Okay, the whole topic of braces is a very difficult question, because if a person does that only for beauty, it's a very serious shaila. Moshe said it was a chatzitza, and I don't really understand the other tzad. However, there are many women who are wearing braces nowadays, so if someone has that question, I think they should speak to their own Rav and come to a decision about that. Okay.
Wait, but braces is not something that you can usually take off. So what would you say? You tell a woman not to go to mikvah?
Well, obviously, the question would be, should she put on braces when she's married, or should we make sure that she does it before she's married? Now she's not married, and she wants to make her. Now she's married, and she wants to make her teeth nice. Okay, so that's a pretty big decision you're doing, because you're putting something on your body you don't want there. You want it there for a specific reason to make your teeth nice, but it is something external. So you're making a decision to make your teeth nice and make your mikvah bad. So that's a very serious question. If a woman is deciding to do that, I think that she needs to really internalize if she can actually live with the fact that she feels like this is part of her body. Because the idea that it's part of her body is hard to understand. Why is it different than a bandage where it's clear in halacha it's not called a person's part of their body because they don't want it on there, right? So to say that I fell in love with my braces and now this is my body, that's a pretty strange thing to say. If they're there for medical reasons, right? Because the teeth are going to fall out, or they're going to cause infections and things like that, and therefore they can't be taken out. So there's much more room to be makel. But if there's where it's just for beauty and it's something that she doesn't think is beautiful, it's really hard to understand why that wouldn't be chotzetz. Okay, so I would like to go on and now discuss the times on how we're going to do chafifa. Okay, the times we're going to have to check. Okay, so we know, let's first of all talk about when we're supposed to go to the mikvah. Okay, so everybody knows that the time we're supposed to go to the mikvah is at nighttime. Okay, in a normal situation. Why do we go at night? Because since we have Shiva Nikim, and since if the dam comes back, will make the mikvah not good, right? So let's say she goes to the mikvah on the seventh day, and then she gets home, and she's with her husband, and the dam comes back out. We lost the whole thing, right? So there was no Shiva Nikim. So that means Lima Freya, they were actually together as a nida, retroactively that she was a nida. So we always say wait till the end of the seventh day in order to make sure that there's nothing can happen, that now she's completely tahora, and there's no reason to wait for the tefillah. So we're always going at nighttime. Once we're going at nighttime, then what we want, obviously, is that there should be as little amount of time between the cleaning, the checking, and actually going to the mikvah. So let's say she would go to the mikvah during the day, and then she can't go to she go to do cleaning during the day, and now she can't go to the mikvah now because it's not nighttime yet. She's going to go around and do her business, get involved in life, and then go to the mikvah, right? That's a very bad way of doing things because she in the interim she can get all kinds of stuff on her body, and it wasn't very successful to do that. So there are situations we have no choice, right? For example, Erev Shabbos, where we know that a woman can't comb her hair on Shabbos, and so if we have no choice, we do the hachanas, all the hachanas Erev Shabbos, and in that situation, she bunches up her hair in a way that it won't get knotted, and she makes sure that she doesn't, do all these hachanas Shabbos and get her hands all dirty and things splashing all around. She's careful about that, and when she feeds her children, she's super careful, either not to feed the children, or if she does, she makes sure she washes her hands afterwards, right? So there is a possibility to do that, but that's like life on steroids. We don't want to live life like that. So l'chatchila, we want a woman to go to the mikvah, all do her preparations as close to night as possible, and as close to the mikvah as possible. So the best way in the whole world will be to do it is for her to finish her hachanos and miyad go into the mikvah, right? So that would mean miyad doing it at the mikvah, and miyad, it would mean she, at the time where she can go into the mikvah, which would mean about 27 minutes after shkia. So the best way would be, as soon as she finishes her hachana, she goes into the mikvah. However, there's another factor, which is that when a woman wants to go home to her husband, she is more stressed and more interested in doing things faster. And the opportune way to do chafifa is total nachas. I got plenty of time. I'm going to check this. I'm going to check this. I'm going to check this, and that makes the best chafifa. So the minyan kalah